So this isn't the video I expected to make for today. This isn't the video that I expected to be putting out today. In fact, I had a completely other video to do, but something's come up. And I think we need to talk about it as part of prepping. So as I'm sitting here, it's 7:30 in the morning on Sunday morning. I've normally got my video scheduled already for today. And I did have one that was scheduled for today, but it's had to be put off until next week. So you're going to have to wait. Because I've been awake since midnight. When Tanny woke me up and said, I need help. Now, Tanny does have an issue with his drinking. He does. And there's usually on his day off he will have more than normal, and I leave him to it. I go to bed when normal. I normally do. I leave him to it and I go to bed because I ain't staying up because it's boring as hell, right? I find it non-entertaining, I don't want to be around drunk people. It's not something that I want to do, right? So I go to bed. So I went to bed 8 o'clock last night. I was in bed. Just after midnight he came in and he goes, Pam, I need your help. And I was up, because as soon as that door rattles I am awake, right? Totally awake. So I did that, got up, went, what's going on? And he went, I fell over, I've cut my hand and I can't stop it bleeding. So that's me. CPAP machine flying halfway across the room, switched off as fast as I could, up, out, what have you. I walk into the bathroom, which is like 3 feet from my door, from the bedroom door, and he is literally pouring blood out of his hand. It is pouring out of his hand, and bless him, he tried to keep it over the toilet bowl, so you know, behind him 2 feet away was an entire rack of cloths and towels and things that he could have just grabbed to put on it, but he didn't. He wasn't thinking that way because he was still 3 sheets to the wind, so to speak. So I grab a hand towel as I'm grabbing the first aid kit, because on top of that rack of towels and cloths I have 3 totes and the work first aid kit all sitting on top of each other. Those 3 totes are all kinds of different first aid stuff. I've got more first aid stuff than I probably know what to do with in a lifetime. However, it's there if it's needed, right? You remember, I'd had maybe 4 hours sleep. About 4 hours sleep. I'd been woken from a deep sleep. And as much as I knew what to do, it was actually putting it into action that I needed help with. Now I gave him hand towel, face cloth to put around his hand to press on to stop the bleeding. And I took him in the living room and I said to him, I'm calling an ambulance. And he said, why? And I said, because our house looks like Freddy Krueger came through it, honey. And it's not showing any signs of stopping anytime soon. And he's like, okay. So I ring the ambulance and he starts to pass out. Because all of a sudden it all goes to his head. He's starting to feel sick. He's starting to get all woozy. So I go and get a bucket and I'm ringing 999. Which is the emergency number in the UK, for those of you who don't know. It's 000 in Australia, 911 in the US. And guess what, kids? If you ring either of those numbers, either in Australia or in the UK, you will still get through to 999. to the emergency services, because they made sure that people from other countries who had specific numbers that they would have been trained from children to have will go through to the emergency services. How clever is that? Yeah, smart, isn't it? Yeah. So, there you go. I was on the phone to the emergency lady. I'm getting a bucket for him just in case he does decide that he's going to throw up, because I've got enough blood to clean up. I don't need to clean up anything else that's coming out of him, thank you. Yeah, so the bucket was gotten. I literally walked to the kitchen, was talking to the lady, came back, and the guys were already at the door. The ambos were already there. They got there in less than 2 minutes to our house. And then the fun started. Now, I told the ambos that, because they said, do you want to come? And I said, look, I have to use a walking frame to walk. Okay, due to back injury, I don't think it'd be a good idea. I'm going to take up too much room. I'm just going to be in the way, right? Simple. That's just simple as far as I'm concerned. Anywho, so that was fine. But he was in his all-togethers. So then I had to get him dressed. And he felt that the best way for me to do that was to take him into the bathroom, which was literally a Halloween slip and slide. Which ended up with me on my ass, having to call the ambos for help, because I'm trying to get him from not falling back off the toilet because he's swaying like a fucking idiot. And having to and they're looking at me like a complete, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, I'm disabled. The mobility equipment in this house is for me. I need you to help me with this. Just to get some undies and shorts and a friggin' shirt on him. In that moment, as much as I have lots of first aid and had to have lots of first aid training for my jobs, for my businesses, etc., and had to be the senior first aid person on site at many restaurants, etc., and I'm used to working with some pretty horrific injuries, you know. I haven't seen that much blood come out of a person since one of my apprentices put their fingers in a blender. I'm not kidding. Okay? But, you know, I mean, that was pretty contained. This was not. And I have just finished cleaning the bathroom. And I can't do the carpets because I can't get down on them, and they're going to need hand scrubbing. But in that moment, I realised, do you know what? I need to redo my training. If you don't use it, you lose it. And it's all very well having all of this equipment, all of the tools, all of the stuff. But if in the moment you can't pull yourself together to use it, then it may as well be dog shit on fire on your front porch in a paper bag. Let's be honest. It's about as useful. Skills learning is really important. Stocking up on your skills learning is so important. And as much as I have a lot of skills, I need to keep practicing those skills. So what I'm going to look at doing is I'm going to have to get a proper trauma first aid thing done. Now, I know that St. John's run them and they are very expensive, but you know what? It's an investment. It's investment in your health, in your family's health, in your family's well-being, and frankly, you can't put a price on that. And if anyone out there dares to turn around to me and say, oh, I can't afford to do that, there are ways and means of doing it. If you're already working for someone, ask them. Ask them. if they will pay you or pay for you to do this training, the first aid training, a lot of small businesses will do so. Why? Because it means they don't have to do it. You know, having a member of staff with the first aid stuff means that they don't have to get someone else in to do it. And if you're someone who's been there for many years or for more than anybody else, then they're more likely to want to invest in you to keep you there, because the more skilled you are, the more use you are to them. Right? Meanwhile, you're being taught what you need to learn to keep you and yours safe. So I would approach your place of work and see if they will put you on a first aid course. If you can't do it that way, put a bit of money aside each week or each month or whatever, if you can, until you have enough to do it. There is also different grants that you can get left, right and centre that, you know, go and have a look and see if you can get one of those. If you're self-employed and you don't have a first aid certificate, etc., it might be a really good idea to do that. And as a self-employed person, there are grants available for ongoing training, and training means a first aid certificate, senior first aid, trauma first aid, the whole lot. The more you have, the better off it is. And even if you've done them, if like me you haven't done one for like, I don't know, 15, Jesus, have I done one in this country again for a while? Maybe back in 2000 and it was a while ago. Okay, so it's been about 20 years since I did mine. I'm not even joking. But the most I've had to do is put a boo-boo on someone or stop a small kid from choking. You know? The other thing is that I don't think anyone realises quite the effect that amount of blood has on your psyche or on your mental health. And it will literally stop you in your tracks. I haven't seen that much blood for a very, very long time, and thankfully, because it means that no one's been hurt that badly, but it means that I wasn't ready for it. Now, the only thing I can suggest is this. If you want to find out exactly what that kind of thing looks like or similar without causing distress on a person, like, don't go and hurt someone to find out, okay? Don't do that. And don't be chucking pig's blood everywhere either, because good God. Get some red cordial, right? Red cordial, raspberry cordial or whatever, just a cheap one, or red food colouring in a glass with some glycerin. Okay, so with some thickened water. Okay, so some very lightly, I don't know, jelly wouldn't work, arrowroot. Put a little tiny bit of arrowroot in some water. Okay, just enough to not let it be as viscous as it, like not be as liquid as it is, and to get a little bit of viscosity to it, right? Chuck that on the kitchen floor. Chuck that on the kitchen floor. Then try and clean it with a mop. Then try and clean it with a mop. And you'll be a little bit more aware of what people are dealing with. Now, that's only like a 250 mils. I'm only talking 250 mils. I'm not talking any more than about 250 mils. Right? But I'll tell you what, that shit goes everywhere. And if you're not ready for it, it is a real shock to the system. Because all you can see is red. Okay, it's one thing to watch horror movies and stuff like that. It's one thing to watch, you know, murder, death, kill, you know, true crime, whatever the hell, you know, and see pictures and all of this kind of thing, but it's not real until you see it for yourself. And then once you see it for yourself, it does have an effect. Being aware that it will have an effect is part of the prep. Okay, and I know that sounds really weird, but if you're not ready for it, hesitation can cost lives. And I double checked where his wound was, and I was aware that it wasn't anywhere that could end up with him and his demise. But if it had been on the other side of his hand, then quite possibly it could have ended up in a very bad situation. Or if it had been somewhere else on his arm or something else, it could have been an entirely different situation. But the point is that I hesitated. I had all the things, but I hesitated because I was scared and I was freaking out because he was freaking out. And now normally in our house, if he's freaking out, I'm the calm one. If I'm freaking out, he's the calm one. You know, and we balance each other that way, and that's fine. That didn't happen last night because I'd been woken out of deep sleep and this had happened. This is why, like, when you're in the military or some kind of organization similar to, they go through training of this kind of stuff to desensitize you, so that if this kind of shit happens, you know what you're up against. Okay? There's reasons doctors and nurses and AMBOs and other health, professionals do not, they're not thrown in at the deep end on their first day. They've got all the book learning, yeah, and a lot of them absolutely freak out in their first year because they're faced with things that they've never seen before, and it's terrifying. But getting qualified, getting your qualifications, getting more skills and practicing those skills goes a really long way to helping you and be ready for if and when those situations come up. Yeah. So that's really all I wanted to talk about today, is get your first aid knowledge up. It's great that I've got 3 or 4 totes full. I've got 4 totes actually full of medical equipment, tools. Well, that's not the equipment, okay? That is just first aid shit. It's bandages, all of the water and the anti whatever septic whatevers, and the creams and the potions and the bandages and the all of the things, right? That's all of that. But it came to nothing because I hadn't updated my skill set. So maybe I would suggest very, very strongly that you guys go and get your first aid kit stuff done. Go and get your first aid training done. Do whatever it takes to get it done. Okay? And yeah, I am a little sick to death of people saying to me it can't be done. And the reason why I'm sick of that is because addicts will do anything to get their fix, and you're telling me you're not willing to do the same to protect you and yours and to make your life better. Go get your skills set ups and practice. I'm gonna go. I will see you guys again soon, and yeah, have fun. See you later. Bye.